Awesome. Everything working. I better knock on some wood because I don't get this lucky. Was hoping I could get this camera so y'all could see my tanks better, but we just moved here a few months ago and everything's still quite the mess, so don't pay no attention. Okay. In case y'all are wondering, I'm just trying to give a minute for anybody who's still finishing up on stage and stuff. So, entertain me for a second. How long have y'all had crabs? This is the one time a year that we can all talk about having crabs, and it's okay. So, I want to know, how many years are we looking at here? Oh, goodness. Courtney, 11 to 15. I've 5 years. 5 years. So, nice, 3 years. I don't think anybody did back then, Danielle. Nobody really knew. Thank goodness for Crab Street, huh? Okay, so I am not a public speaker by any stretch of the imagination. I have severe ADD, so I'm probably going to be puming all over the place. But I think the reason Mary talked me into sharing my story is because, especially the last few years with everything that has been going on with COVID and just the state of the world, people need to be able to feel like they have a safe place if you have mental health struggles. And I'm kind of going to explain how this hermit crab healed me, if you will. I lived on the coast of North Carolina 5 years ago, and a Navy friend of ours was going out of town, and she had gotten 2 hermit crabs at the beach for her sons, and she brought them over for me to babysit while she was gone. And for 2 weeks, this poor little crab sat on fish rock gravel in a 10-gallon tank with no heater, no nothing. And I truthfully don't even think I knew what a hermit crab was, let alone what it was supposed to do or look like or act like. But I just felt sorry for it. So, skip forward a little bit. I did a little bit of research and, started trying to help her. Hey, maybe this is what we should do. And next thing I know, one of the crabs had died and she was done. And I became the owner of this little crab. At the same time that I got this little crab given to me, my sons had moved out of state to go into business with their dad. And so for the first time since I was 16 years old, yes, young mother, I had nothing to take care of. I had no children and I was lost. I do suffer from PTSD and bipolar disorder, 25 years now, but I found myself, after I looked up this crab information, I found Crab Street, and I'll never forget, I posted a picture of this crab in my turtles tank, because I just put him in there for a minute, and Mike Vucador actually said, "What is up with that substrate?" And I was like, ah. But I got lucky enough to find Crab Street in Elk Coast right away. Stacy and Sherry and Beth, they all dealt with me asking every ridiculous question And now I see how our group tries to keep those questions on the surface so they don't have to go through that. It makes sense now, ladies. Um, but anyway, this little crab, I knew he needed heat, but I didn't have a heater, didn't even know what kind of heater I was supposed to do. So I just took him in my son's room because the AC was blocked off since they had just moved out. And, conserve energy, you don't need to AC 4 bedrooms. So I found myself laying in on my son's bed, staring at this 10-gallon aquarium with the bright rainbow colored fish rocks. And this little crab just looking at me with puppy dog eyes, if you will. I don't care what anybody says, they're little shelled puppies. And I started reading and I started researching, and it reignited a passion in me that had been gone for about 8 years before that. I did pit bull rescue and rehab for 13 years. And when I say pit bull rescue, I mean jumping fences at 2 a.m., cutting chains in Pensacola, Florida. I was really big into rescuing those pits. And when I lost my personal pit, I got out of it because I could not, my heart could not take it anymore. I'm a very sensitive soul, and that was a hard thing to do. When I was younger and my kids were younger, the craziness of it is what kept me fired up. But the hermit crab was in not the same position, but has the same plight. This poor little misunderstood critter. I thought, I love all of nature. I love all of animals. And I don't know how to explain how that hermit crab spoke to me. Yes, Kelsey, you're right. The ones that are misunderstood, neglected, undervalued, bluntly and honestly, that resonated with me as a human. Again, kids were gone. I didn't know what I was going to do with my life. All I knew was something needed me again. So I start researching and I start getting fired up like I used to about the pits. And I'm like, I don't even have to jump fences. I'm 45. I can't do that now. So I immediately began investing myself deeply into this. Reading everything I could get my hands on, studying everything. Truthfully, the only reason I started making hermit crab food was because I could not afford to buy hermit crab food. So I started making it. And here we are. For those who might not know, I'm just 2 old crabs. I'm the younger old crab. And so, yeah, I meet some wonderful people in this group. And that is where the true life change started. When CrabCon 2019 was announced, I was agoraphobic at one point. That's where you are too scared to leave your house, basically. My anxiety was so high, and my fight or flight response was like way out of whack. So I thought there's no, me, New York, are you kidding me? I can't even go to Walmart, seriously. So started talking with some of these wonderful ladies, and we became friends, and this community lifted me up and said, hey, we got you. And get to New York, and I meet Mary, and I get to see the babies, and I meet so many amazing men and women. And I had said this in the talk last year about our babies. When you find your people, you really, truly find your people. We're all a little weird. We're all a little misfit, and we're all a little hiding in our shell. And maybe that's why we all end up with hermit crabs, because we feel that. It's like, okay, we want to tuck down and be safe. And when you find out how that hermit crab can't even just live his life like that, you want to protect him. You want to do it for him. And I think all of us have some kind of intense animal passion to be in this. I mean, I've been 5 years now, and even my family, they look at me like, you're just so weird. But the beautiful thing about this community is I'm like, thank you. yes, I am, and you should meet my friends. So, thanks to all these wonderful ladies, I am a whole new woman. You know, I am anxiety free. And I was just talking to a few last night that I'm ready to get out there in my advocacy booth. You know, I don't know how to explain how focusing into the hermit crabs and just doing the right thing by them, suddenly you can have pride in yourself again, because you're like, okay, I'm doing something good, I'm doing something right. And when you thought you were just going to always be mom and grandma and nothing else, and then suddenly your kids are gone and the grandkids aren't here yet, okay, well, the hermit crab needs me. And I maybe made it a little weird, but it made me feel whole again. And it, like I said, reignited that passion, and it introduced me to some amazing friends that, although I may have only hugged them one time in 2019, they are still very much, a piece of my everyday heart and soul. I'm wearing my gift from Sherry today since she can't be here with us, and I when she finally gets a chance to see, you were here with me, girl. Yes, OG forever. Yes, Stacy, this was my gift from Sherry up in New York, because she told me if I actually made it to New York, she had something special for me, and it was this. So, oh, I didn't know Savannah had done that. That's amazing. Oh, it's extra special now. Yes, Dan, you're right about Jenny. Her and I had talked about it, and you know, she was always able to speak a little more openly and freely than I was. I just, I stumble over my words, and again, the ADD. I always worry, are they going to be able to keep up with my train of thought? And Jenny was like, just remember, you're talking to your friends. You're talking to your friends. And I was like, yes. I'm been hearing that in my head for 2 days now. So Jenny's definitely here with us too. And again, it's another example of this community. It, where else can you, say I'm going to just make crazy foods for these scavenger exotic pets of mine, and then 20 other people say, oh, well, I'm going to do these pools, and no, someone else, I'm going to make these tire swings. And we all have a little weird, and we all bring it to the table, and we are literally changing the world. I am daily humbled by what Mary and Darcy have accomplished already. And to have Josh's frogs, that I was a huge fan of before I even knew what a hermit crab really was. Um, we lift each other up. We share ideas. We build on solid foundations, and it's changing the world. I have hope now that in my lifetime, I'm already getting my grandkids into the hermit crabs, that we're going to see the end of wild capture. It has to happen. There's no ifs, ands, or buts. It's going to happen, and it's going to take all of us crazy people getting together and never backing down, never letting up. And I can't tell you, I'm not a big commenter in the group, because I'm on my phone. It's a struggle. But I read all these posts about, oh, I went into this store today and I seen this and I was brave enough to speak up. And that is so inspiring, because I've done it once, and it was a lady at a pet store, and it's where some of the straws came from that Mary has. And it ended up ugly, because 4 years later, I found out she had lied to me about the whole thing, and it broke my heart. So I had to get over that and toughen up a bit, because I know I'm going to face that same heartbreak that I did every time I lost a pet. And, if it wasn't for the support of this community, I don't think any of the advocators could be out there doing this. It takes all of us. And I'm so proud and honored to be a part of this crazy community that I can't imagine my life without at this point. I wake up thinking about crabs and grandkids, and I go to bed thinking about crabs and grandkids. So I am 100% open to any questions, by the way. I am an open book, whether I know you or not. This is my family. So, if I said something that you're like, well, wait, how or whatever, ask me because I probably done forgot. Danielle, I live now in Gibson City, Illinois. I moved here a year ago from the coast of North Carolina. My husband was in the Navy and retired, so we came back home. This is where I'm from. Oh, Kelsey, I didn't know that. My son is on the spectrum, and the crabs resonate with him pretty deeply too. It's a pretty amazing thing to watch. Yes, it actually, my mom pointed that out to me one time. I just was a little tore up about some crabs that had passed, and it was back when I didn't know any better, and I was still getting it from the pet store. And then when I had introduced her to a small crab, she reminded me it's not always going to be easy, but it's the right thing. So, Stacy, talk about how hard it was to meet in person in 2019. Yes. Again, agoraphobic, extreme PTSD, and very, very heavily medicated. Um, and I wanted it so badly, but I was terrified. I was at times literally frozen. And Debbie Scruggs lived near me, and she met me in person to take me to get a tank from Courtney. And even that made me anxious. But all it took was that initial meeting her. And then we traveled together to New York. She wasn't comfortable traveling by herself, and I wasn't either. So we girly road tripped it with her niece, and it was amazing. And even then, when everything was so new and scary, because believe me, I was terrified. The minute I got into that hotel lobby where CrabCon was being hosted, and Mary gave us our name badges and our little swag bags and stuff, I had no more anxiety. Well, I was a little yappy at my booth just because that's what I do. Uh, yes, Kathy, I have CPTSD, extreme childhood PTSD, and then I have PTSD from domestic violence. So it kind of crippled me for a little bit there. And honestly, I think a lot of it was because, my whole life is about my three children. They're 28, 26, and 22 now. And I just didn't have them anymore. And I was getting into a dark place because, even when you medicate for depression and PTSD, it's an everyday struggle. It's a lot of therapy. And honestly, that's another thing that I just was reminded of. For some reason, it became easier to talk to my therapist because I just started talking about my crab. And she pointed out what I'm saying about how I just needed something to care for again. I needed to nurture. And because I had crabs to talk about, I was able to just start talking about everything else. And now I never in a million years thought, I'm 45 years old and I have two grandsons now, and I can come and go as I please. I'm free. I'm finally free. I still suffer from bipolar depression, and I am going to be medicated for the rest of my life for that. But I've never had so much stability. I never thought I would be a small business owner, and I never thought I would create something that I was so proud of. And, it's hard work. It's really hard work, but it's the most fulfilling work I've ever done. Every single package of crab food, my hands are on every vegetable, every fruit, every powder. I pack every bag. I do my mom doesn't get to do nothing but crochet crabs anymore. Maybe draw me pictures because the hands-on is so healing. And for any of you out there, if you haven't already picked up on the vibe of our community and you're in a place, any one of us will be there for you. That's just, even when they don't mean to be, they're there for you. So, I appreciate everybody in our community. We all bring something different to the table, and thank you. I appreciate that, Danielle. I try really hard to. I'm a big believer in karma, so I try to put out positivity, and I try to. I agree, Stacy. We are a special breed of people, and I like to goof that we're weirdos and stuff, but we have professors, we have authors, we have businessmen. There's nobody that doesn't have a hermit crab somewhere in their life story, whether it's just, I went to the beach one time, or my neighbor had that. Hermit crabs will forever be the great icebreaker. Grocery store, do you really want to buy one shrimp? Yeah, I really did back then. Someone else has that story too. So it's conversation. Once you start talking, you start healing. So does anybody have any questions for the weirdo? I agree. Everyone's weird. We're all beautifully weird. Yeah. That's another thing this community will do is you can't get down on yourself, because they're going to be like, oh, excuse me, listen to me. My favorite thing about having hermit crabs. Have you seen my tanks? This is my office. Thank goodness my living room's right next door. My husband can holler at me. I'd never tire of watching them. When my tank was in my living room, I couldn't focus on nothing. I tried to move my camera earlier to get it closer, but it doesn't. But on my website, Danielle, I have a photo gallery page that has my big tank and this. It has all of it. You buy one shrimp too. Yeah. That's awesome. I do have a couple hermits. They're not colored in yet, because they're weird hermits. Still working on the top part of my sleeve there, so this whole arm will probably end up being hermits, to tell you the truth. Thank you. You guys are awesome. My favorite thing to make for my shop. I'll tell you my least favorite thing. Anytime I gotta pull out that canister of Bambi sauce is what I call it. I gotta bust out that can of deer poo, and but it's all fun. I gotta say, I've had so much fun. I found this new fish market, and they've got the weirdest stuff there. And I've done a lot of research. Like our crabs are like from the Caribbean and Indonesia and stuff. So I was like, okay, well, what's local there? And I'm finding some really great, awesome, gross seafood stuff everybody's gonna love. Yeah, Stacy, Jeannie got me good. I ordered a extra special big bundle from her, and she sent me the perfect little, brown box. And I ripped the box open, and deer poo goes everywhere, because I guess I just assumed it would be in a bag, but it was just in the box. Yeah, I'll get her back one of these days. It was, yeah, and my dog, oh my gosh, he's part beagle, and they got that hound nose, and he did help me find every last piece of it. Glitter bomb. Yeah, definitely. And I have a like a ninja bullet and stuff that I grind it up with. And the first time I ground up deer poop, I did not expect it to like powder bomb out under pressure when I unscrewed the lid. Yeah, did not know. I can't even tell you how much crap, literal crap, I've had to clean off my ceiling in my kitchen. Yeah, Kelsey, speaking of inhaled poop dust, I get picked on for blue boogers, or if I have purple boogers, or my granddaughter saw purple stuff around my nose because you use, beet powder or blue spirulina. That stuff goes everywhere. So yeah, there's always some weird color going on up here too. Yeah, moose and rabbit. I can imagine moose is much better than deer. Now rabbit poo, that's not so bad. Honestly, the worst smelling is chicken poo. That farm fresh mix, man, y'all better love me because that just. Ugh. I used to send little miniature clothespins with it as a joke to plug your nose. I think my dog's knocking. All my dogs are knocking. Yes. That green spirulina is the one that gives me the really bad because it's so powdery, and yeah, they're normally my office buddies. So when Mama locks them out for a while, they're like, "What's going on?" I have two Chihuahuas, a Shih Tzu, and that furry thing there. Well, that would be the furry thing. His mama was a beagle, but his daddy was a Shih Tzu. So, oh, that's right. He's Scarlet's. Okay, his mama is a Shih Tzu, and yeah, I love my puppies. Actually, I should say I love my husband's puppies. They love him. Food that's the hardest. Probably my oily fish, like salmon. I love doing the salmon, but I just lost $68 worth of salmon a few days ago because I messed it up. You have to dry it just right, and it ended up molding on me before I could even turn it to a mix. Oh, that's so cool! A chug chihuahua with a pug. I have in my office this tank that has 12 crabs, and the baby tank has five itty bitties in it. And then I have a 200. This one's going to get a 60-gallon breeder topper on it in the next couple weeks. I just need to get it out of the shed and start working on it. No, this. Stacy, what is with Illinois and this humidity? I do not remember this. I was like, really? I got to be on camera? My hair went. So I think there was less humidity in the coast of North Carolina. Oh, it's a bit much. Oh, yeah, that's true. Yeah, but you have like a hot tub, so Try Florida. No thanks. 3 years in Pensacola was good for me. I was there when Ivan hit, and I laid in the middle of my living room floor and cried for like 15 hours. It was new. I'm done with Florida. Mm. I got family down there, and I'll go visit. That's good enough for me. My mom is from South Texas originally, so visiting her in summer really sucked too. Yes. Uh, I really pride myself on longevity. I try to make sure because I give 2 ounces. It's a pretty hefty bag, especially if you've got a few crabs. So I want it to last throughout the whole use. Nobody likes buying something, using a little bit, and it goes bad. So I keep all of my ingredients completely separate until I'm absolutely positive that they are dried enough or the right consistency or whatever before I put them in. I did in the baby session over there, Stacy talked about the um, well, I lost one of my captive bred babies, and it devastated me. He service molted on the way back home because we drove from New York back down here, and it just broke my heart. And Mary had named him Lucky because he accidentally ended up in my baby bin. I was supposed to bring home 6 babies, and a couple of us ended up with an extra, and we don't know how. If maybe someone else in the room thought they were putting it in theirs, we don't know. A couple of us got extras. So losing Lucky kind of broke my heart. Yes, I went and to pick up a baby, and I put it on my hand, and it fell. It just left its shell in my fingers and just took off. I just wanted it to crawl in a hole and die. Talk about anxiety and embarrassment. And you're like, okay, yeah, she's never going to let me take these babies home. But no, Mary's wonderful. And she laughed and says, oh, they got you. So when I found out there was more, I was like, hashtag family, they got to have a cousin. And I had originally gotten to the next year for my mom. Then last year when we all moved to Illinois, my mom didn't want a tank anymore, so I claimed hers. And then I had a lot of wild caught crabs because I did a lot of rescue in North Carolina, and I adopted out most. Excuse me. So I was intentionally making room for the captive bred babies, and I've got my grandkids into it, and I have one my desk here used to be right next to the baby tank, and there's videos. He comes up and he'll follow my finger on the glass, and when I look at them and think, I'm 45 and I can very well have this pet up to my very last day. That's amazing, we don't have to say goodbye. We lose our puppies, and it sucks. And we get to keep these little shelled puppies for 50 years. What? Well, I guess it is that time for me to quit yapping my gums at y'all. I really appreciate you guys hanging out and listening to me. I'm not sure what's coming up next. I forgot to write it down. And by the way, I'm always open to, helping anybody with questions and coupons. So don't hesitate to message me on Facebook if y'all need anything. Rita, awesome. Okay. No, thank you guys. You guys make me the happiest thing in the world, right next to those hermit crabs. And my husband. That was him going, and dogs, yeah. I have a very full, happy life, and I guess I could end it with saying it's all thanks to hermit crabs getting me out of my shell. So y'all take care. Bye.